Finally, the Long War Kickstarter is here. We are trying to raise money to improve all elements of our videos. Cameras, microphones, lighting, and even editing software. We're more than just a company dedicated to bringing hobby back, we're a community. Whether you enjoy all of our content for free here on YouTube, or you're a member of the fast-growing Hall of Veterans and you enjoy early exclusive access, we're part of the same community. It's not all business though. All the Long War swag that you guys have been waiting for is available on the Kickstarter. Please stop by, check out our Kickstarter, and thank you for the support.
What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Bear here today with a little bit of a rant, so to speak. My buddy Kenny Boucher over on Next Level Painting has been doing a few of these every week, and he's like, "Dog, you got to do these rants. They're great. I have a lot of fun. People talk to me." And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like people. I got plenty to say, and sometimes I just don't have time to, like, you know, write it out on the keyboard, clickety clack, and all that stuff. Also, a lot of times I don't have time to to get to all this stuff. So it's been a few weeks. It's been on my mind. Had a couple things to say, and now's the time to do it. But before we get to all that, I would like to invite you to head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and very special promotion codes to help you save on the stuff you buy every month. Become a veteran of the Long War today. So like I was saying, Kenny Boucher over on Next Level Painting, my good friend, talks like this. He's been doing a few rants here and there about different things, mostly inspired by, you know, the podcasts and the webcasts and things like that we do over on the Long War. And, well, you know, I'm obviously in the trenches every day, you know, hitting up the blog articles, you know, writing all this stuff up, talking to my contacts all over the world, literally. And, you know, I've got a lot to say. There's a lot of trends basically coming into play now with Games Workshop, and this particular episode is going to be called Good Guy Games Workshop because, well, Games Workshop seems to be making a lot of the right moves right now, as opposed to the ice age of Sigmar, we'll call it, which happened over the summer, and it started out great, and, well, it didn't end up so great. I love the game, but it obviously has some issues, and people are divided on those issues, and we're not even going to get into that, although I would like to talk about what I think they can do to fix it in the near future. But that is not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about the good guy GW, the good things they're doing for the hobby, and the good moves they're making, because there's really a lot of stuff going on that I think we should address. First off, there's the Callion book. This is the new expansion for the Tau, also Space Marines, and in it you will note that there is 2 full-on rule sets for both the White Scars and the Raven Guard, like we said. But what's interesting about this is, if you notice, like, first off, here is the Raven Guard section, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with their tactical objectives. You've got 9 pages of rules in this. Now, I guarantee you, if you compare the amount of rules in this to the Sentinels of Terra or the Clan Rukan books, you'll note that these have way more rules in those supplements, and those supplements cost at least twice as much as if you added up the value of this book that retails for $75, and you get, I don't even know what it is, but you get a little fluff book in here too that's almost a whole nother supplement in and of itself, another 70-page supplement. So you get 2 sets of rules, Raven Guard and White Scars, which, like I said, once you start adding all that up, you know, those supplements, those previous supplements for Codex Space Marines kind of look a little janky now that you're thinking about it, because you're like, hey, I get 3 sets of rules in this, 2 of them being Space Marines, and then I have to buy those other individual supplements. But if you add up the value of this, obviously this is the clear winner. And we know that this is kind of the way Games Workshop is going as of late, because they're basically rolling out what I like to call 2nd edition codexes. And 2nd edition not being the edition of 40K, obviously, because that came out in the 90s, but 2nd edition being, it's basically like I want to say it's like a reprint, you know what I mean? Because we saw that with Imperial Armor, right, from Forge World. There was like Imperial Armor Apocalypse, Imperial Armor Apocalypse 2, Imperial Armor Apocalypse 2nd edition, and it all got very convoluted and very confusing. And now we're actually seeing them go back and redo the Imperial Armor starting with 1, and they're not saying that it's a 2nd edition, but it is a 2nd printing, but it's new material. So they're going back and updating. And like I said, this is the new, yes, the blue one. This is the new Tau Codex, right? So you got the new Tau Codex, It's 25% bigger. It's 125-ish pages as opposed to 100-ish pages for the old orangish one, right? So you've got these two. And what it's doing is basically putting in the collection of the new rules that were printed in this supplement, the Callion book. And everybody's like, you know, people are either on the fence or they're all for it, because you can basically take, as Games Workshop said themselves, you can take the 6th edition Tau Codex, you can buy the Callion book, and there's all your rules. And the Callion book only has the new stuff in it. Like if you look at the support system section, you know, it basically has the new support systems. And I went all over this in my Codex tips and tactics for Tau, which I'm not exactly sure when I'll drop that. Hopefully it comes out soon before this. It might come after that, so be looking for it. But I went over all that, and basically the changes to the marker light. All of the changes are in here specifically, but there isn't, you know, any of the original like signature systems and things like that, which you know, they list here. They do list in the War Gear section, but you're not going to have the rules for them because obviously you need a copy of Codex Tau to use that. So whichever one you buy, you're going to have that, and then you're going to have this as well. If you buy the new 7th edition Tau Codex, well, that one's all well and fine too, because you can, I mean, you can tell right here, it has more material in it, but it's going to have all of the material in it. It doesn't actually have the data sheets for the new fortifications like the gun ring and things like that, but those do come in the instruction manual for the gun rings. So they didn't print it in a Tau Codex, it is in a Callion book, and actually none of these books have the Tau Tidewall rules in it whatsoever. So that looks to be something that you have to get out of the White Dwarf. But then think about this. So Games Workshop seems to be putting out splash releases, such as the Callion book. We saw it with Stormclaw last summer. We saw it with Shield of Ball, which was 2 books and 2 expansion boxes, and it also came with new rules. So it seems to it seems to me that you can wager that it seems like Games Workshop is going to be coming out with splash releases more and more and more when they release either a codex or in between releases. Sometimes things like what they're doing right now with the Horus Heresy, they're dropping a box set, and you know, it might turn into a new game, it might not, it might, you know, there might be rules, you know, depending on who you talk to and when and where, and rumors breaking every day, you know, they may be compatible with 40k, they may not be compatible with 40k. But the fact of the matter is, they have these filler releases that they can just throw in between a new codex release. So I think it's a very proactive approach on Games Workshop to keep people's interest in, to keep these splash releases going out, you know, from week after week after week. You have a new codex, like obviously, word on the street is that there's a Tyranid codex coming out in January. Now, chances are that that codex will be one of these 2nd edition kind of things that I've talked about, where it's a printing of the base codex, but it's going to have the new material from the Shield of Ball books, because there was a lot of new, you know, you got the Tyrannocytes with the mucolids in them. You got the what is it, the big guys with the wavy, the Toxicrenes. You got the Toxicrenes, you got all that stuff. We have rules for it. It was in a White Dwarf last summer, you know. So if you're a Tyranid player right now, you gotta like go around and get all these bits and pieces of rules from all these places, and Tau players got it easy because they can just buy one book and get it. So you can easily see where they're going to take those rules, because it's not 25 pages worth of rules, and they could just put it into an existing Tyranid codex. They could also come out with new models, this is what we're hearing, you know, fortifications, you know, a psychic bug, you know, a new spore bug that's a psychic bug, and like all the stuff we're hearing, that can easily go into a book, and they can basically put it out as a 2nd edition, and they can do the expansion. Once again, they can have them fighting, I don't know, Ultramarines or Blood Angels or some other popular thing, because let's face it, in the 40k universe, Space Marines are basically the Wolverine of Marvel's universe. You know, they throw Wolverine in to basically either figure out how badass the villain is. Oh man, he effed up Wolverine, holy cow, we're in trouble now. Or, yo, Wolverine just handled him, no big deal. So like Space Marines are like the guys that come in, but not only are they the guys that are the litmus test for basically how badass this new opponent is, they're also, you know, the flagship, most popular, you know, put it in everything and it's going to sell from Games Workshop. So it's smart on them to come out with these campaign books. They appease, you know, the masses with the Space Marines. They also get their new release, and everybody's happy, and you get your, you know, you get your one expansion book that you can buy, and then boom. Because let's face it, if you're a Space Marine player, what are you going to buy until Space Marines come out? you're gonna buy the splash release stuff that comes out in between everything else, and that's what these campaign books are. And Games Workshop's starting to realize that, I think. And I really would like to say that 2016 is going to be very exciting, because we're going to get a lot of supplements, not just new models, but a lot of supplements to basically augment existing rule sets. And then who's to say 2 to 3 to 4 years down the road that Games Workshop won't basically have another re-release of, hey, Space Marine 2nd Edition Codex is coming out. Now you can get all the rules from the past 3 years all collected in one spot. Get your brand new Space Marine Codex that's 175 pages. It sells for $75. It's an expansion in itself, because that's, let's face it, it's obviously the biggest Codex book out there. And then boom, everybody's happy. Games Workshop gets their new release. They can put out a couple, like 2 new Space Marine models or whatever, and everybody's good to go. And the hobby keeps on going, and everybody keeps on, being happy and getting new material, because once you stop putting new stuff out, the games die. Let's face it. How many miniature games have suffered that fate because they didn't have releases lined up to keep people's interest going? And we're really fortunate with Warhammer 40K in the fact that there always seems to be something coming besides the summer coming out new. And I think Games Workshop has really figured that out. We say we don't know what's going on with Games Workshop, and they don't know what they're doing, but yet we buy all the crap they buy. So, do we not know what they're doing, or do they not know what they're doing? Well, I think they know what they're doing, because we're still buying this stuff. It's still somebody's buying it, somebody's selling it, and as long as they can maintain, their back end financials and things like that, and not overspend, and also cut their costs and do all these things, then I think we're all good to go as far as the hobby goes, because they seem to be making a lot of the right moves at the right time. Following one of their roughest quarters ever, with Age of Sigmar. So, good guy GW, glad to have you guys back. Let's keep doing good things and moving forward for the hobby.